Welcome to LiveDaf, your online Daf Yomi Shir.
Shalom Aleichem. Welcome back to today's Daf, ARACHIN Chavtes. We begin at the Mishnah on Chavches Amud Beis, around 15 lines from the bottom. So, as discussed yesterday, there are two forms of cherem. So you sort of banish it, you give it away. Either as a donation to the Bedek Habayis, the Hegdish, treasury, the maintenance fund, or to the Kohen. Now, the one that's given to the Bedek Habayis certainly can be redeemed. What else is the Beis Hamikdash going to do with your car, right? So, as Taisus points out, of course, Pshita, the Niftenhain, of course you have to redeem it. To direct the money for repairs and maintenance. However, the type of cherem that goes to the Kohanim, says the Mishnah, cherem Kohanim ein lahem pidyon. There's no redemption. It's given to the Kohen. Period. Elo noisnim leKohanim ketruma. Just like you give your truma to the Kohen, the same with this. Now, although there are two types of cherem, that's if you specify. I'm giving this to the Kohen. This is the cherem to the Bedek Habayis. What if you don't specify? You just say cherem, flat, blank check, unspecified, undefined. Which way does it go? We have a machlokes. Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira Omer, stam charamim, an unspecified cherem donation goes lebedek habayis, based on a pasuk shenemar kol cherem kodesh kadashim u'lashem. Pasuk is telling us that any cherem which is unspecified, kol cherem, goes to Lashem. V'chacham Oyrim, they disagree. Stam charamim goes l'kohanim. If it's unspecified, it's presumed to be to the kohanim. Shnema kastei cherem l'kohen te'achuzasai. The pasuk is telling us that a stam, an unspecified sadeh hacherem, goes to the kohanim unless he specified otherwise. In Cain, continue the Chachamim. What about the other pasuk that was cited by Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira? In Cain lo menemar kol cherem kodesh kadashim Hashem. So why then does the other pasuk indicate that stam cherem goes Lashem for a different halacha? It's coming to teach us shechal al kodesh kadashim val kodshim kalim. Coming to teach us that the cherem status can be applied even to a pre-existing carbon, whether it's the Kachim Kadashim of the higher tier or Kachim Kalam of the lower tier. And of course, it doesn't mean that you can rename your carbon. You have a Shlomim, you can't rename him, Bedek Habayis. It just means to say that you're obligated to donate the value of that carbon, how much you have in it, as we're going to see in a minute. So basically, we have a big machlokes regarding Stam Cherem. According to Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira, the Bedek Habayis, based on his pasuk, according to Chachamim, to the Kohanim, and they explain the purpose of Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira's pasuk. It's coming to teach us a totally different halacha, that one can actually apply the cherem concept to an existing carbon. Kol cherem kodesh kadashim. Even if it's already a carbon, you can make a cherem on it. How does that work? It's already kadosh. How do you Machram Adam as Kadashim? There's the Mishnah. A person can be Machram Adam as Kadashim. He can make a cherem on his pre-existing carbon. Bein Kachim Kadashim, Bein Kachim Kalim, whatever it is. So although it's already Kaddish, how do you go about applying another level of Kedusha on it? The answer is no. Im neder. No use in me. It just means to say you're obligated to pay its value. So let's say, right, there are two types of karbanos. There's a neder. A person obligates himself. I'm going to bring an oila. In which case he is responsible for anything that goes wrong until it's actually taken care of. So in this case, since he is chayav b'achrais, he's responsible for the well-being of that karma. It's like his. It's as though he owns it. It's as though he has a financial, stake in this animal. In which case, when he turns it into a cherem, what he's doing really is pledging the value of the carbon. So the carbon stays as is, but he has to write out a check for that value to the Bedek HaBayis. But it's only in a dava where he donated this animal. In that case, he's not responsible for the well-being of the animal, but he still has some financial interest in it. Teivasan, it's called teivasan. No, how much benefit does he have? How much would he be willing? We'll see in a minute. How much would he be willing to pay to have a carbon brought on his credit? I mean, you have some benefit from it, having a carbon brought on your account. Great. So that's how much interest, that's how much benefit, that's how much is in it for him. That's how much ownership, so to speak, he has in it. So that's how much he has to pay the Bedek HaBayis. As the Mishnah explains. Suppose Sherze Oila. Initially he had donated this ox as an Oila, and now he pledged it as a Cherem as well. So the Oila remains Oila, yes, but he has to go and pay how much he has in it. Oimdin, we estimate, Kama Adam Ritalitain. Bisharze. Well, how much would a person be willing to sort of pay to have this animal brought on his credit? Even though he's not obligated. Suppose a person has no obligation whatsoever. So he's not in a position to buy a huge ox, right? But listen, if you can get a good deal. Suppose I offer you $5, you get a carbon for free. Would you be willing to do that? Sure. So that's how much benefit he has in it, that's how much financial interest he has in it, and that's how much he gives to the Cherem. Another example is by a Bachar, firstborn kosher animal. Ha-Bachar bein tam, ubein balmum, whether it's unblemished, meant for a carbon, or a blemished, meant for non-carbon. So once again, you can apply the Cherem status on it. And the question is, how do we evaluate that personal interest? How much do you have in the carbon? How do you go about redeeming it? Meaning, what does he have to pay on account of the Cherem obligation? So here he can't work with the previous formula because it's not really the same as a carbon that you bring on your credit. You give it to the kohen, and it's a whole different system. So here it's based on a different formula. Then we evaluate how much would a person pay you, the farmer? Oh, you have a bachar in your herd? Great. I have a nephew. I have a grandson who's a kohen. I'm not a kohen. If I was a kohen, I couldn't offer you any money. You're not allowed to. It looks like you're soliciting. But I'm a Yisrael, has a grandson, a kohen, etc. I want to pay you a couple of dollars. You know what? Would you be willing to give it to my kohen grandson as a gift? So that's how much potential gain the farmer has from this carbon. That's how much interest he has in it. How much ownership he has in it. So when he turns it into a cherem, he's pledging that amount to the hekdesh. We turn to the next element. Tanarabon. Cherem keihanim inlan pidyon. So if it's a specified cherem to the kohen, you can't redeem it. The nice in the kohen is given to the kohen. But charamim, these types of charamim, although they're meant for the kohen and they're considered kohen's possessions for all practical purposes, right? But kolzman shein bebeis baalim, as long as they're still by you, the donor. Harihin kehegdesh l'chol devrein. Interesting. Currently has a hegdesh status regarding all matters. Me'ila, all kinds of halachas that apply to hegdesh apply to this item as well, as long as it's still in the possession of the donor. Shenema kol cherem b'Yisrael kodesh kodashim ala Hashem. Pasuk is teaching, although the destination is the kohen, who will treat it like any other possession once it gets to him, but while it's still in your hands, it has full kedusha. Nisan l'kohen, once it's delivered to the kohen, the kedusha expires. Harihen chol devreim, they're regarded with respect to all their matters kirechulin, like ordinary materials. Shnemar kol cherem b'Yisrael lecha, it's yours, the kohen, to keep as your own possession. Rabbi say Reimer, stam charam bedek habayis. So you can specify cherem kohanim, cherem bedek habayis, but if it's unspecified, what happens? According to Rabbi Seira, bedek habayis, based on his pasuk. Kol cherem kodesh kodashim l'Hashem. The stam cherem is l'Hashem. Chacham disagree based on their pasuk. Kestei cherem kohen tiachos asay. That stam cherem goes to the kohen, and they go and explain. Not only did they present their position and their source, they also related to Rabbi Yehuda's source that pasuk is going on a totally different halacha, that you could be machar even a carbon, right? So Bishlam Rabban, I understand the Rabban's position very well. They clarified their own position, and they addressed Rabbi Yehuda's pasuk as well. They explained their own position and the pasuk of Rabbi Yehuda as well. El Rabbi Yehuda, but Rabbi Yehuda he presented his position. But what does he do with the pasuk quoted by the Rabbanan? What does he apply that pasuk for? We look at the signs for the following halach. Pasuk is comparing the field that's given to a kohen upon Yovel, upon the arrival of Yovel. So let's say Reuben donated his field, the Sadeh Achuzah, comes Yovel, nobody had redeemed it, it goes to the kohen. The pasuk makes a comparison. This Sadeh Achuzah is delivered to the kohen just like a Sadeh Achir. Now, what's the pasuk teaching by comparing this to the Chir? The answer is, suppose the kohen received a land, a field, by way of a Chirim donation. The kohen says, look, I don't need it, I want to give it to Hekdesh. So he pledged it to Hekdesh, donated it to the Hekdesh. And he failed to buy it back. It's sitting by the Hekdesh. So if it's untouched, what happened by Yovel goes to the Kohanim. Look, he might argue and say, look, I'm also a Kohen. May as well just leave it by me. We had a similar argument the other day, right? Similar story. Where a Kohen decides, I'm a Kohen. You're giving it to the Kohanim, give it to me. So here as well. How do we know if a Kohen donated his Stei Achirim, which is slated to be divided to the Kohanim come Yovel? He can't argue and say, Hoil since in any case it's going to be distributed to Kohanim come Yovel, and currently it's in my possession. Just give it to me. Just give it to me. Don't give it away to the other. Look, and he has some logic to back it up. If I have a right to receive other people's fields, when a Yisrael donates his field and it comes Yovel, comes to me and the other Kohanim, certainly if it was mine to begin with, let it stay by me. Comes the pasuk, Kestei Achirim, which sounds like we're learning something from Stei Achirim to the regular Sadeh Achuzah. And the question is, what? What aspect are we importing from Stei Achirim to Stei Achuzah? It doesn't seem like we're learning anything from there. Rather, mi'ata. Oh! So clearly, the traffic goes the other way. Instead of importing from Stei Achirim to Stei Achuzah, it appears that Stei Achuzah is the source, is coming to teach something, but really he's learning from us. We're comparing to Stei Achirim, right? That the Kohen had acquired from the Israel. We're comparing it to the Stei Achuzah of Israel, meaning the field that Israel donated, and Kam Yovel, it's going to be given out to the Kohanim. We compare the two. So we learn Chirim from Stei Achuzah, not the opposite. Stei Achuzah shel Yisrael, just like by Stei Achuzah of Yisrael, all agree. This is based on the pasuk on the Gemara we had the other day. So even if a kohen had already redeemed it from the Hekdesh, right? Reuben donated it. A kohen woke up one morning and said, I like the field. He redeemed it. Doesn't matter. It comes Yovel, goes out to the Kohanim, rather than to the kohen who's already holding it. Likewise, in our case where the kohen acquired a Chirim field from Israel and donated it, comes Yovel, he's not going to retain it, goes to the Kayan. Okay, so according to Rabbi ben Beseira, this is what we learned from the pasuk. Rabbanan, who already used this pasuk regarding the halach of stam cherem l'kayanim. So how do they know this most recent halacha? Mecherem ha-cherem. It could have said cherem. It says stay ha-cherem, the extra hey, for this halacha. Vidach cherem cherem le-mashmlei. Rabbi ben Beseira did not dwell on the extra hey, just a mode of expression. One final question. So we have two pesukim. One was Rabbi Yehuda's pasuk, stam cherem is lebedek habayis. We have the pasuk of the Chachamim, stam cherem is the Kayan. Rabbi Yehuda learns the pasuk of the Chachamim for this new halach. That if a Kohen gets a field, he donates it, he can't say, okay, come Yevel, let me have it back. It goes to the group of Kohanim who were serving the Mikdash at that time. What do Rabbanon do with Rabbi Yehuda's pasuk? You can take a pre-existing carbon and apply the cherem status to it, which obligates you an X amount of money. Final question. Rabbi ben Beseira, how does he know that halach? Rabbi ben Beseira, the chal that a cherem pledge can be applied ala kadosh kadoshim, val kachim kalim on a pre-existing carbon. How does he know that? The answer is he has another source for that halacha coming up in the Mishnah soon. Rabbi Shmuel's source, Savik Rabbi Shmuel, and he learns it from there. Okay, so in a nutshell, we have machlekes stam cherem. According to Rabbi ben Beseira, the kabayis. Chacham say l'kayanim. How do we pass? Amarav halacha ki Rabbi ben Beseira. Surprise! We go like Rabbi ben Beseira against the Chacham. Really, v'rav shavik rabbanon v'avid ki Rabbi Yehuda ben Beseira. Would Rav abandon the Chachamim, the multitude of Rabbim, and go with an individual opinion? How? Why would he do that? Braisa if chatanya. The truth is that in his Braisa he had a reverse equation. The names were switched. And it was actually the Chachamim who hold that stam cherem is li bedek habayis. And that's why he adopted that opinion. Braisa if chatanya. Okay, but it's in contrast to the version that we have in the Mishnah. Why would he adopt the version of the Braisa? Shavak masnisen, vavet kebraisa. Why would he forego the Mishnah's version and adopt the Braisa's version? The answer is Rav masnisen nami v'chatani. In Rav's Mishnah, it also had the names reversed. So we're assuming that he reversed the Mishnah because he had the Braisa reversed. My chazis the afchas masnisen mekavi Braisa. Why would you reverse the Mishnah based on the version of the Braisa? If anything, nafich Braisa mekami masnisen, you should switch the Braisa based on the Mishnah's version, which is typically deemed more accurate and more reliable. The answer is Rav Gemari Gameh. Rabbi had a Kabbalah from his teacher, from his Rabbi. His Rabbi taught him this version. So of course he passed like the Chachamim. But according to his version, the Chachamim were the ones who say, Stam cherem lebedek habayis. If that is so, that he's really adopting the Chachamim's shita according to his version of events. So why do we say Rav Paskins like Rabbi ben Beseira? Just the opposite. We should have quoted Rav as adopting the Rabbanan's shita, because according to his version, that's the Rabbanan's opinion. It means like this. It's all one and the same. It's just relating to our version. According to the way the way we have our version, that it's Rabbi Yehuda saying Stam lebedek habayis, halach Rabbi ben Beseira. So that's how we pass him. But really, according to my version, it's the Rabbanan. Okay, in fact, there was a story in Bavli. How there was this fellow, he donated in a cherem, format, his nechasim, b'Pumbedisa, in the town of Pumbedisa. What do we do? Now, he didn't specify. He just says cherem. So he says, redeem it for a token amount. Doesn't have to match the value of the assets. So you take 4 coins, okay? and transfer the kedusha onto the coins. And what to do with the coins? Throw into the river, out of reach. Then you could use your assets. Alma Kasar, apparently he holds. He didn't send it to the kohen, apparently because he holds. Stam Charamim goes lebedek habayis, so it has the kedusha, and you need to be mechalel it. Kiman kishmol. Now, this allowance of just using a token amount instead of actual matching value appears like Shmuel. The Amar Shmuel, Hegdish Shaveh money, you take an expensive Hegdish item, Shechile, which was redeemed on Shaveh Prut, even on just a minuscule amount of money, Mechul, it works. So, Minat Torah, you can be Mechadal a huge amount, huge value, even on a Pruta. Well, Eimad Amar Shmuel Shechile, but even Shmuel only allowed it after the fact. The Chatchila Miyama, would he allow it initially? Why would he advise him to do that? Says the Gemara, since Minat Torah, even on a Pruta it works, just Midarabanan, we don't want Hegdish to lose, so we require you to use a properly, evaluated, Chilul. That's only when Hegdish gains and benefits from it. But here it's going to be thrown into the river anyway, so what's the point? Just use the token amount. And you're good. When do we insist fair value? When do we have a Beis Hamikdash and the money is going to be put to good use? We're trying to avert, a loss to Hegdish. But nowadays, even initially, you can do it even on a small amount. Then why do you have to insist on 4 zuz? Just use a pruta, a nickel. Persumi Milsa, he wanted to make it, a public experience so people realize what's going on and know that there was a real chilul. So he takes his 4 coins and it's more than just a penny on the side. So we all understand that there was a chilul and he's, yaitzi. Amarullah, Yavai Asam, says Ula, if I was there, Hava Yehivna Kulul Kehanim, I wouldn't do this pidyon, I would give it to the Kehanim. You know why? Alma Kosavar Ula, apparently Ula holds, Stam Charamim goes L'Kehanim, Meisvei comes a kash. What's going on at all with this whole Khair? I mean, we were talking after the Beis Hamikdash, right? Bizman Hazeh, there was no Yovel anymore, the Yidden are, in Golis. So why at all are we talking about a cherem? A cherem is not active nowadays. Basically, here comes a kasha from a brisa. There are strings, there's a whole list of things that are not applicable nowadays because they're contingent upon the observance of Yovel, which you don't have. Unfortunately, we don't have it today. Basically, ein eved ivri, the idea of an eved ivri, of a Jewish slave being sold, it doesn't work now. Noyeg elbaz man sheyevel noyeg. It only applies when the Yovel was around. Shenemat shnas hayevel aved imach. He works till the Yovel, so it's dependent on that. Vein stei acherem noyeg elbaz man sheyevel noyeg. The stei acherem as well needs Yovel. Shenemar v'yesav v'yesav shalach uzasai. Actually, some change it to achuza. Stei achuza. The idea of stei achuza, where you sell your plot and it has all the halachas of, you buy it back based on the years left to the year. All that doesn't apply unless you have a Yovel. The idea of selling a house in a walled city with all its halachis, again, that's only relevant only when we have a Yovel. This is what we're looking for. Likewise, the idea of a stei acherem is only when there's a Yovel. So we find the acherem is related to Yovel. One more item. Reb Shimon Elazar, in Ger Toishav Noyeg Elbaz Mashivel Noyeg. The idea of a Ger Toishav, a guy who had committed certain elements of mitzvahs and to support him, and that's only when we have the Yovel. Why? Amar Abi, my timer. Why is that Talo Yan Yovel? Asya Toiv Toiv. We make a Gzer Shav Toiv Toiv. Ksivach Ktevil Imach. Because by the Eved Ivri, who's contingent on Yovel, as we established, it says the word Toiv. Ksivhasimam by the Ger Toishav. Likewise, we have the word Toiv, but Toiv Le'atanenu, so we compare. In any case, there's no Yovel, there's no Chitztei Acherim. So what was the whole issue here in Bavli? There was no Yovel at that point. Like Hashi, Habim Makarki. What's dependent upon Yovel? The Acherim on land. Habim Matatl. But a Acherim on just belongings, that can happen even without Yovel. Ask the Gemara. And the reason is because the pasuk that we quoted there was talking about karka, right? But the story in Pumbedisa where he made a cherem, it was on his assets, on his land as well. So why was that relevant? Says the one Mekarki the Chutz La'aretz. Wow, the property in Chutz La'aretz has the same status with respect to this halacha. Eretz Yisrael, Tommy, like the mobile items in Eretz Yisrael, because after all, that pasuk that linked Steachirim to Yovel was talking about land in Eretz Yisrael, Steachuzah there. So only something which is your absolute estate, your land in Eretz Yisrael, that's linked to Yovel. But otherwise, if it's metatali or karka in Chutz La'aretz, that's not your steach, it's not your permanent estate. So it can happen even nowadays. Now, as promised, we have another source for the idea of bimachram, a pre-existing korban. That was Rabbi Shmuel. Rabbi Shmuel Eimer, Kosav Echad Eimer Tagdish. So let's shift to the Bechor, firstborn kosher animal. It's meant to be offered as a korban if it's unblemished. And one pasuk says, you have a Bechor Tagdish, sanctified, which indicates that you have to actually designate it as a korban. It doesn't happen by itself. Kosav Echad Eimer Lo Yagdish. We have another pasuk, no, don't touch it, don't. Which way? If Shaloimar Tagdish, you can't go with the Tagdish that you meant to. Sharik Varnemer Lo Yagdish. Because the other pasuk says don't. If Shaloimar Lo Yagdish, you can't go with the don't, because it says do. Sharik Varnemer Tagdish. How do you go about it? Haketzat. Magdishay Ata Hekdesh Iloi. So on the one hand, don't tinker. On the other hand, do tinker. So which way? The answer is you can't really tinker with it. You can't take the Bechor and say, oh, I want it to be an oila. Lo yagdish. Not allowed to do that. But Magdisha at Ekdish Ilui. Ilui means the assessment, the value that you have, the interest, what's in it for you, the benefit that you gain from it. Like we learned before, you have some interest in it. That's how much of it you can obligate yourself. You can donate your financial stake within this Bechor. How much is it worth to you? Right? If somebody offers you some little bonus payment to give it to his grandson, right? Like we said before. You can't relabel it as a different korban for Mizbeach. Rabbanon who already learned this halacha from the previous Mishnah, right? That you can take a korban and be magdash hegdash ilu and obligate yourself to your. What do they do with these psukim? Al tagdash m'bayli. Very simple. Al tagdash means don't you dare try to relabel it as a different korban. And what about tagdish, the positive element of tagdish? What's that for? For the following halacha. How do we know a farmer experiences a bechor in his farm? There's a mitzvah to actually verbally designate it as a bechor. The Chavetz Chaim writes in Mishnah Berurah, a person goes, shopping for Shabbos food. The words have kedusha, can elevate the actual material that he's buying, the food. He should say, the Kavod Shabbos Kodesh has a profound effect. The words, the expression, the fact that it's earmarking for Shabbos gives it added kedusha. Here as well by the bechor, mitzvah lagdisha, even though by default it's a bechor, it has kedusha, but when you go and you actively, verbally designate it as such, it gives it an additional layer of kedusha. Shnemar hazochar tagdish. Look, Rabbi Shmuel, who uses these psukim for something else, so how does he know this new halacha? He disagrees. Iloi magdish leiloi kadosh. Look, even without him going and verbally, isn't it kaddish on its own? It's kaddish by way of its birth. Since even without his contribution, it's already kaddish. There's no need for him to do that. Let's talk like dushay. Hence, we don't need a pasuk for this. Bottom line, cherem. There's a cherem l'kohanim, which is kaddish while still in your possession, but not so once you deliver it to the kohen, it becomes his private belonging. Cherem bedek habayis is when you earmark it for bedek habayis. And certainly it has kedusha like any other donation. What if it's stam cherem, unspecified? We have machlokes. According to Rida Reb Sarah, he goes to bedek habayis based on his pasuk. According to Rabbanon, goes the kohanim based on their pasuk. And we explained what each one does with the other one's pasuk. We have this new idea called hegdesh ilu. You have a pre-existing korban, you make it into a cherem. It doesn't change its status, but you're personally obligated to forward a specific amount, which is reflective of your interest, your benefit in that korban, what's it worth for you? We had different formulas. One is for the neder, one is for the nedava, one is for the bechor. Okay, how do we turn to the base? Says the Mishnah, Rambam Perek, about a fellow who sold his field. Okay, we're shifting from a donator to a seller. A person sells his, his family estate, his family plot, his de'achuza, as opposed to something that he bought from somebody. It's his personal land. At the point in history when Yovel was being observed, was active. So this sale is subject to all kinds of parameters based on the psukim, the Torah. So first of all, you have to wait a 2-year minimum before you buy it back. You have to leave it by the buyer to enjoy for 2 years. Now, let's say one of those years was a wind-blown year. It wasn't a very successful crop, ARACHIN, or something wrong with the something else wrong with the crop. Dried up, or Shemitah, where he can't really plant. It doesn't count because it's not a year of crop. However, let's say it was a regular year, but the buyer chose to leave it fallow, nara. He just plowed it without planting. He left it fallow. It certainly accounts for the towards the 2 years. Rabbi Lezer Eimer, when we speak about 2 years, at times the buyer can walk away with 3 harvests, 3 crops. How? Okay, so Reuben sold the field right before Rosh Hashanah, at the end of the summer, when it was still laden with crop. It's full of pears. 2 years later, he could have enjoyed 3 crops from it. This one, and one per the next 2 years, one per year for the next 2 years. It turns out that he had 3 crops in 2 years. Says the Gemara. Mishnah continues. He shouldn't be buying it back. So make a deal. Rather than just Einoi Goyal, that you can't force them to sell it back to you. Like Tony, it doesn't say it like that. You're not allowed to. Alma, apparently, because Savar Isur Namik, it's an Isur. To approach him, to sell it back to you within the 2 years. The Torah wants it to stay by him. It's meant for him for the 2 years. Isur Namik, I feel Karkushi Zuzin Nami, even to jingle money in front of him. Here, $1 million. What does it sound like, huh? You can't do that. Nami Yosser. Not only the seller who's buying it back is in violation of an asay. If he buys it back. Ela filu. Even the buyer, he decides to sell it back within the 2 years, he has violated an asay because the pasuk requires shanim tikna. Should have it for 2 years. And he didn't. Itzmar. Suppose he sells it on the 50th year itself, on the Yovel year. What happens now? So typically when you sell your de'achuza, so you have to wait a minimum of 2 years, after which you can buy it back based on the years that are left to the Yovel, prorated as per the purchase price. Come Yovel, you haven't taken it back, goes back to you. So Yovel releases the field from its owner. It restores it to its former owner. What about if he sold it on the year of Yovel itself? It is a valid sale, and money paid for it is paid. Belongs to the seller. Although the field will jump right back to him. So it's sold and unsold at the same time. According to Shmuel, it's not a valid sale. My time in the Shmuel, why? Look, logic. Something which had already been sold before Yovel. Yoitza now leaves, goes back to the seller. So Yovel is by definition an extractor. Makes you lose possession. Certainly you can't gain possession on Yovel. Something which hadn't yet been sold. Of course it can't be sold on Yovel. Rav doesn't agree with this logic. We find that Rav himself presents this kind of logic in a different context. We don't say this type of kavachayim about time we have a brayso. The Torah allows a father to sell his daughter as a maidservant up until adulthood. So once she turns bas mitzvah, she leaves. She's free. Can he sell her as a nara, as an adult? Of course not. Arm is kavachayma. Simple logic. Uma mechura kvar. If she had already been sold before Yaitza, she would now be freed. Akshav she'ena mechura. She's not yet sold. When she reaches adulthood, any additional item, of course she can't be sold. So we have a brisa. We assume Rav agrees to this brisa. That if there's an element of an extractor, so certainly you can't go into the status if you have an extractor working against you. Says the Gemara, it's different, very different. Chasam, in the case of the bitay, loy hadram is davna. You can't sell her again, meaning once she reaches adulthood, she cannot be sold. The window of opportunity has closed. So of course you can't sell her now. If she was sold, she would be freed. Of course, you can't sell her now. Here by a field, you can turn around and sell. After Yovel, it's not like your ability to sell has expired. Yovel is an extractor, I understand, but you have an ongoing ability to sell this field. If not now, then next year. So the field is still a sellable item, so you can sell them on Yovel. It's a valid sale, although you'll get it right back. It doesn't preempt the actual sale, transaction. Meisvei comes a kash on Rav, who says it's a valid sale. So the pasuk actually reads like this: right? So based on the amount of years after Yovel, you buy it, and that's. So from the word achar Yovel, from the word achar Yovel, shanim tikna, we learn we can sell right after Yovel. And shanim tikna tells you have to hold it for 2 years before you can contemplate selling it back. Muflig min Yovel. What about selling it a while after Yovel, many years after Yovel? No problem. There's no specified time to sell or not to sell. In fact, the sale price is reflective of how many years are left to the coming Yovel, or how little years, right? And the Brisa continues. However, on the Yovel year itself, you can't sell. The if you sell, it doesn't work. Rav responds. It just means that if you sell on Yovel, it's not subject to the regular system, which requires you to leave it by him for 2 years, right? But the sale is valid, but it goes back right away. Says the Gemara, hold it. If you're insisting that it's a valid sale, take him b'shusei. So why does he get it back right away? There is a 2-year minimum hold, right? I understand Yovel itself is not a year to plant, but you should have to wait 2 years after Yovel. The sale is valid, fine. Torah says the buyer typically holds on to it for 2 years. Okay, so Yovel doesn't count, but let him wait for 2 more years after Yovel. When Yovel's over, let him have his 2 years of crop, and then give it back. So Yovel should sort of have a temporary release effect. It should be a temporary extractor. I understand Yovel makes it go back, but that extraction should be put on hold, should be suspended, on pause, until the buyer has it for 2 years of crop. Don't we find a similar halach in a brisa? The Yovel doesn't dismiss this right. Let's say you sold the field a year to Yovel. Valid sale according to all shittas. Now you only had 1 year of crop. You think that when Yovel arrives he loses it? No, he still has to have another year of crop. Yovel gets another year of crop after Yovel, and then he loses the field. So Yovel has an extraction effect, but pending the 2-year hold. So here as well, if he sold it on Yovel, I understand Yovel extracts, fine, but if it's a valid sale, we still have to experience that 2-year hold, which in this case compels you to wait 2 more years after Yovel. Why is it different in the case where you sold it a year before Yovel, 1 year now, then we complete that 2-year hold by waiting another year after Yovel? What's the difference? Big difference. In that case, that he sold it a year before Yovel, the buyer had entered the field lachila to consume, meaning it was a year of crop, a year of growth. So he began enjoying it. He had 1 year, another year to go after Yovel. Over here, he never had that opportunity, he never accessed the crop. It was a year of Yovel, now not a year of planting. So he never entered that realm of crop consumption. So in this case, he doesn't have that right, he doesn't have that zchus, the Yovel just comes and extracts it. Okay, so again, if you sell on Yovel, Rav says it's a valid sale, but it's extracted immediately. Shmuel says no, it's a non-starter. It's not a sale, it's not a sale. Now the question is, according to Shmuel, it's not a sale. What does that mean? So he gets his money back, he's refunded his money, or the money is gone. Amar Rav Anan, Shamis minei de Mar Shmuel tarti. There were actually two halachas, very similar halachas that I heard from Mar Shmuel, the great Shmuel. One was this halacha here, chadahach, that a field sold on Yovel is not considered a sale. V'idach, another halacha from Shmuel, hamoicher abd l'chutzlar leib kechavim, oy b'chutzlar. It's a person sells his evet kanani to a guy or to out of Eretz Yisrael, which deprives him of the opportunity to do the mitzvahs properly. Yotz l'cheres. The Chacham penalized him for doing so, and he goes free. Okay, so two similar cases where something sort of an attempted sale is deemed somewhat unsuccessful. Now, there's one difference between the two cases. Chada, in one of these matters, Hadris Vini. I heard Shmuel that Shmuel holds that the Zvini, the money that was paid, goes back, is refunded. It's an invalid sale. In the other case, the money is not refunded. He loses his money that he paid. I'm not sure which way. On which halacha he said what? Amr Yosef says, Rav Yosef, let's analyze it. Okay, if you're not sure, let's figure it out. Let's get to work. But the Sani price. Let's figure out which one is refunded, which one is not. Which one is technically a sale, but then he loses it, or it's not even a sale to begin with. It's not even a price. We have a price. He sold his evet to chuslarz. Yotz l'cheres goes free, but tzarach get shichrum rabbi sheni. But the evet needs to get a release document from his new master. Apparently, there's a new master in town. A sale is a sale, a purchase is a purchase. Apparently, in this case of the slave, it was a valid sale. The money's not refunded. So the evet was sold, the buyer bought him, money paid was paid, but now he goes free. And when Shmuel says over here by the Yovel that it's Eina Mechura, you sell him Yovel, it's not a sale, he means to say all the way. It never started. Money is refunded. So Rav Yosef resolved this question. The question is for Rav Anan, Bryce Shmili. Rav Anan wasn't sure because he didn't hear this Bryce, which shed clarity on the topic. And on his own, he could not confirm which way to go. We turn to the next topic. Udu Shmuel, and regarding Shmuel's statement, a field sold on Yovel is not Mechura, he could not really define what he meant. Does that mean the money is refunded? I mean, it wasn't really a sale? Who says it means that it's not really a sale at all, and the money just goes back? Maybe it's not a sale, but the money is a matana. You know, you can't buy on Yovel. You gave it to him as a gift. It was an alibi. You wanted to give him $1 million. You did it by way of a transaction, which you know wasn't real. Just like we find by Kiddushin on a relative. It's not a valid Kiddushin. And what happens to the money? According to Shmuel, it's deemed a gift. Just like the case of a person's Makash's sister, which is not a valid Kiddushin, gives her a ring, gives her money. The Itmaz we learned, the Makash gives his sister money for Kiddushin. Rav holds the money goes back, refunded to the giver. No, it's considered a gift. So he wasn't really sure what Shmuel meant regarding the money on the field that was sold on Yovel. But it turns out, based on the Brisa, we have definitive clarity on that. That in the case of the evet that was sold, it's in fact a valid sale, and the money is gone, as opposed to the sale on Yovel, where the money is refunded. Let's just see one more piece here. Amarle, Abayla Rav Yosef. So bottom line, the fellow sold the Evet. He shouldn't have sold him to Chutz La'aretz or to, right? What happens? Technically the sale is valid, but Chachamim expropriated the Evet, they set him free, and in fact the buyer lost his money. So you're penalizing the buyer? Why are you coming down hard on the buyer? It takes two to make a transaction, right? So the seller shouldn't have sold him either. So why is the buyer left holding the bag? Why? You're coming down hard and penalizing the buyer who loses his money. Let's penalize the seller for selling him. Let's compel him to give back the money. Amalei says, there's a phrase out there. Who's responsible for the cheese that the mouse stole? Is it the mouse? Or is the mouse hole, which allows him to store the cheese, which is the motive behind stealing the cheese? It's not the mouse who's considered the true thief. It's the hole in the wall. So if not for the buyer, he wouldn't have attempted this illegal sale, right? So the buyer is responsible. Well, you can look at it differently too. The hole is just a hole. Who's actively stealing? It's the mouse. If not for the mouse, the hole, how does he get the cheese? So really, they're both equally responsible. Him in an active sense and him in a passive sense. So once again, why are you penalizing the buyer over the seller? Mistaber, it makes sense. Where the Isser is to be found, that's what we penalize. He's the one holding the Evet, he's the one buying the Evet. So he's taking a greater role in this experience, and the Knas is applied to him. Just continue on to the Mishnah, finish the topic. So when you sell this de'achuza, there's a minimum 2-year wait before you can attempt buying it back. Now, if one of the years was Hayvira or Nora, if the buyer decided to just till it without planting it, or Hayvira, or leave it fallow completely, too bad, it's your issue, it counts towards the 2 years. Why mention both cases? Hashta Hayvira Eilolai. Even if left just fallow, uncultivated at all, it counts. No, but it goes without saying that if he tilled it, of course, because he did some sort of work. No, it's richle. There's an extra point in mentioning this case. There's room to think. There's room to think that perhaps if the buyer worked at it, he tilled it, right? He enhanced it, he prepared it for planting, and did not end up taking advantage. So maybe you can charge the seller for it. When he gives it back to the field, pay me for the work. The point is no. It's your prerogative. I pay you for whatever years are left of the next year. I don't have to pay you back, pay for what you did. Rabbi Lezer adds another point. Sometimes you can reap 3 harvests from this 2 years. How do I know if I sell it to before Shana, it's still laden with fruit? 2 years down the road, the seller cannot tell the buyer, look, you must return it to me in the same condition that I left it to you. Laden with fruit. Return it to me the way I left it for you. Tvois, any amount of crop, whatever you can squeeze in there. In fact, sometimes you can have 3 crops, 3 harvests in 2 years. And it's the buyer's gain. Okay? So in a nutshell, we have a fellow selling a field. It's the achuza. When Yovel was being observed, he must allow the buyer to hold it for 2 years. 2 years can have as many crops as you get into 2 years. 2 years where the field can be plowed and planted properly, as opposed to shidaf and virak and shviyus, that doesn't count. You can't even attempt, a buyback before the 2 years is an isser. The isser is applied to the moich and to the lekeach as well. What about selling al Yovel itself? Shmuel says it's a non-starter. Money is refunded. Rab says the sale is valid, but the field is immediately returned to the moicher. all agree if the sale took place a year to Yovel, then Yovel is sort of put on hold, meaning the fellow holds on to it for this year and has another year of consumption after Yovel, after which it's returned to the owner. Because in this case, he started the Achila and he's allowed to complete it. Okay, all the best to you and Atzlach.